Wondered how ordinary Victorians got through daily life, using objects that would leave you wide-eyed today? You're about to step into a world of strange comforts, harsh routines, and ingenious tools that shaped everyday survival, objects you've never seen before. Let's begin with items Victorians reached for without a second thought. Tooth powder kits. You might take your morning toothpaste for granted. You twist the cap, squeeze, brush, rinse, forget. But imagine opening your day the Victorian way. A little tin box, a gritty blend of chalk, crushed charcoal, baking soda, powdered cuttlefish bone, and sometimes even brick dust. You dip a dry bristle brush, usually horsehair, stiff and scratchy, right into the powder and grind it against your teeth until the paste forms in your mouth. You can almost taste the sensations if you try. Dusty, metallic, vaguely salty, sometimes minty but in a sharp, medicinal way. The brushing itself didn't feel gentle. It felt like scrubbing stone. There was no foam, no smooth glide, no refreshing swish, just the scrape, scrape, scrape of abrasives against enamel. To Victorians, this wasn't strange at all. It was simply how you cared for your teeth. Long before dental science caught up with hygiene, toothpaste in tubes wouldn't become a household staple until the late 1800s, and even then, many households clung to these powders for decades. Compare that to today, where you expect harmless whitening, cavity protection, enamel repair. Back then, these powders often did the opposite. They wore down your enamel faster, yet people swore by them. So let me ask you, could you start your morning with something that feels like brushing with sand? Butter churns. Picture yourself standing in a quiet Victorian kitchen. No machines hum, no appliances beep. You hold a wooden handle attached to a long rod, plunging it up and down through thick, sloshing cream. You can smell the faint sweetness of milk turning, slowly tightening, thickening, separating. Your arms ache, your shoulders burn, but the rhythm pulls you in. This was the butter churn, one of the most essential daily tools, especially before refrigeration. Most families churned at least once or twice a week, using fresh cream skimmed from cooling pans. The process wasn't quick. It could take 45 minutes, or it could take hours. Temperature mattered, timing mattered, even the mood of the cream mattered. Too warm, and it refused. Too cold, and it stalled. You learned to read it through sound and resistance, the way you might recognize a friend's footsteps. In its context, this wasn't a novelty. This was household survival. Butter was fuel, currency, trade, and flavor. In a world where food spoiled fast and meals needed wait, you couldn't run to a store and pick up a pack. Now think about today. You open your fridge, unwrap a stick, and that's the entire story. No labor, no waiting, no sore arms. So here's the question. Could you find the patience to churn your own butter every week? Chamber pots. Imagine waking before dawn in a chilly Victorian home. No central heating, no soft lighting, no quiet walk to a clean bathroom, because of course there wasn't one. Instead, you reach under your bed for a ceramic bowl with a rounded rim. You lift it, cold to the touch, and do what you need to do. That's your entire bathroom experience in the middle of the night. And the smell, that's something modern life has saved you from. Chamber pots weren't sealed. They weren't scented. They weren't discreet. They sat right there, waiting for the morning when someone, often the lowest-ranking servant or the youngest child, would carry them out to be emptied into a privy or cesspit. The air, the heaviness, the sour mix of waste and disinfectant herbs. Victorians lived nose-deep in odors you never have to endure. Within their context, chamber pots were practical. They saved you from walking outside in freezing darkness to a detached outhouse. They saved you from danger, mud, and the cold. And in rooms shared by entire families, they were simply part of life. Contrast that with your modern bathroom. Clean tiles, flush systems, quiet fans, privacy, sanitation. You expect these comforts as basic rights, not luxuries. Now answer this honestly. Could you fall asleep every night knowing your bathroom sits an arm's length from your pillow? Corset tightening frames. You know corsets existed, but do you know the lengths Victorians went to for the perfect shape? Imagine stepping into a wooden frame with side rails and pulleys, gripping the edge while someone behind you, usually another woman in the household, tightened your corset string by string. Each pull forces the garment to compress your waist, ribs, and torso inch by inch until breathing becomes something you have to think about. The sound of it stays with you. The creak of fabric under pressure, the hiss of tightened laces, the little gasps you make as your lungs adjust. You feel the internal shift, organs nudging upward, posture locked in place, your entire midsection stiff like carved wood. For Victorians, this wasn't vanity alone. The corset symbolized respectability, social status, discipline, structure. A well-shaped silhouette announced to the world that you belonged, that you were refined, that you followed the rules of the time. Today, we talk about comfort clothing, breathable fabrics, stretchy waistbands, body positivity. You choose mobility over rigidity, health over fashion. The very idea of compressing yourself into a frame-built garment feels shocking. So imagine this moment. Could you let someone physically tighten your torso until your ribs had no choice but to submit? Mechanical carpet sweepers. You vacuum without thinking. You push a machine that hums, sucks and spins, pulling in dust like magic. But Victorians did it differently. Picture a wooden box on wheels with a handle attached, rolling across a carpet while internal brushes rotate purely through motion. No electricity, no suction. Just mechanical friction. You hear the soft rattle as the bristles sweep debris into a built-in compartment. You feel the slight resistance when the brush catches a clump of soot or crumbs. You smell the faint must of indoor dust because Victorian homes collected everything. Coal residue, ash from fireplaces, fibers from heavy clothing, soil from boots. Carpet sweepers emerged as an ingenious innovation for the middle class. Before them, you'd beat rugs outside, sending clouds of dust into the air. This tool let you clean without lifting heavy carpets and without suffocating the house in dust storms. Today, you barely think about cleaning technology. You expect suction strength, HEPA filters, cordless motors, automatic rollers. Some people even let robots vacuum for them. But imagine cleaning your floors with nothing but a push-powered wooden box. Could you rely on something that simple to keep your home clean? Hair receivers. Imagine brushing your hair in a quiet Victorian bedroom. No running water, no modern sink, no easy way to collect the strands that fall out. Instead, every time you clean your brush, you take the loose hair and push it through the small opening of a delicate porcelain jar on your vanity. This was the hair receiver, an object so common back then that every woman had one. You feel the texture of the saved hair, soft, tangled, warm from your scalp. You gather it carefully, almost kindly, because you know it won't be wasted. Victorian life was built on thrift. Nothing truly belonged to the trash. Every stray resource had a second life. Once the jar filled enough, you'd open the lid and pull out a compressed little nest of hair. It felt odd in your hands, almost like dark wool, and then you'd repurpose it. Some women used it to make rats. Small pads placed under the hair to create volume. Others used it for embroidery, wig making, or even stuffing small household items like pincushions. Within its context, this was practical and clever. Hair was abundant, useful, and too valuable to throw away. Today, you watch strands wash down the drain without a second thought. You consider shed hair dirty, disposable, even unpleasant. But Victorians saw it as material, resource, fiber. So let me ask, could you imagine saving every piece of shed hair you brush out each morning? Morning jewelry. You might wear jewelry today to express style, celebrate relationships or mark milestones, but Victorian jewelry often carried a much heavier meaning, grief itself. Imagine wearing a ring with a lock of your loved one's hair woven beneath a tiny glass panel, or a brooch containing a braided strand shaped into a delicate design, or a pendant containing ashes or bone fragments. You can feel the emotional weight of it, soft hair preserved long after the person is gone, kept close to your chest or wrapped around your finger. This wasn't morbid to Victorians. It was a physical act of remembrance, a way of refusing to let the dead vanish too quickly in a world where loss came often, suddenly, and relentlessly. The craftsmanship mattered. Hair was boiled, cleaned, curled, woven, shaped. Jewelers worked with tools like miniature looms and curved tweezers. Every braid pattern held meaning. Some symbolized hope, some sorrow, some eternal loyalty. You could smell the faint scent of the oils used to preserve it. You could feel the slight roughness of the dried hair through the glass. In Victorian life, mourning was a structured ritual. Entire wardrobes changed. Social calendars paused. Time slowed. Mourning jewelry grounded you through the process. Today, loss expresses differently. Photos, social media tributes, cremation pendants for a few. Hair jewelry feels intimate to the point of discomfort. So imagine this. Would you wear a piece of someone's hair as your most cherished accessory? Foot warmers. Picture a freezing Victorian evening. Coal fires glow dimly. Drafts slip through windows. Floors feel like ice. And before you settle into a carriage ride or sit in a cold church pew, you fill a small metal or wooden box with hot coals or heated bricks. This foot warmer goes beneath your skirt or by your feet, radiating heat that rises slowly and unevenly. The smell is unmistakable. Warm metal mixed with soot. Sometimes it's pleasant, sometimes acrid. You hear the faint crackle from the embers inside. If the warmer is metal, the top gets hot enough that you must avoid touching it with your skin. If it's wooden, it smells faintly of baked timber. This wasn't just comfort, it was necessity. Victoria-era winters could be brutal indoors. Homes lacked insulation. Carriages were unheated. Churches were cavernous and cold. Without a foot warmer, you'd spend hours shivering. In context, it's a clever little object, a portable furnace for your toes. Contrast that with today, where heat is invisible, immediate, evenly distributed. You flick a switch, turn a dial, tap an app. Warmth is a guarantee, not a battle. The idea of carrying around a personal box of burning fuel feels impractical at best, dangerous at worst. So tell me, could you trust yourself to sit calmly with glowing coals beneath your feet? Crinoline cages. You've seen images of Victorian gowns, massive skirts floating like domes. But imagine stepping into the structure that created them. A crinoline cage. It was made of steel hoops or whalebone strips connected by tapes, forming a lightweight skeleton shaped like a bell. You didn't wear it outside your dress. You wore it underneath, strapped around your waist. The sensation is strange. The cage sways as you walk. When you sit, it tilts awkwardly. When you stand up, it springs back into shape. You feel the pull of gravity on the hoops, the bounce of the structure, the slight metallic jingle of the connectors. Air circulates freely, cold in winter, refreshing in summer. Originally, these cages freed Victorian women from layers of heavy petticoats. They allowed dresses to spread out without weighing the body down. But they also caused accidents. Skirts catching fire from open flames, gusts of wind exposing legs, hoops collapsing under pressure. In context, the crinoline cage symbolized beauty, refinement, and modernity. Fashion magazines praised the silhouette. Women embraced the lightweight alternative to fabric-heavy skirts. Compare that to today, when clothing prioritizes movement, simplicity, and practicality. The idea of wearing a steel structure under your outfit feels outrageous. So here's the question. Could you walk through your day with a metal dome strapped to your waist? Mechanical wringer washers. Imagine wash day in a Victorian home. No gentle cycles, no buzzers, no soft laundry scent. Instead, you work with boiling water, harsh soap flakes, a scrubbing board, and a hand-cranked wringer. After washing clothes in a tub, you feed each dripping piece between two rollers. The wringer squeezes out the water as you turn the crank, and the fabric emerges flatter, lighter, and cool from evaporation. You can picture the sensation. The wet fabric slaps against your hands as you guide it. Water gushes in a steady stream from the bottom rollers, splashing into a bucket. Your knuckles sting from the temperature. The crank resists with each turn because the rollers clamp tight enough to press out nearly everything. Victorians relied on this weekly ritual. Laundry was physically demanding and time-consuming. You couldn't escape it. Wringer washers made the process slightly more manageable, reducing drying time and saving effort. Some households prized them so much they kept them in the center of the washroom like prized tools. Today, laundry asks almost nothing of you. You load, press a button, walk away. A machine cleans, rinses, spins, dries. You complain if it takes longer than expected. But imagine this. Could you spend an entire day committing your body to your laundry? Tooth powder. You dip your fingers into a small ceramic pot, and instead of paste, you lift out a fine, chalky powder. It smells faintly of mint, but also of crushed bone and ground charcoal. Tooth powder wasn't just a hygiene item in the Victorian world. It was part medicine, part ritual, part science experiment conducted every morning inside your own mouth. Imagine using it the way you would. You wet the bristles of your brush, made of boar hair, stiff and prickly, and then press it into the powder. The grains cling in clumps. The mixture feels gritty, dry, slightly sticky once dampened. You bring it to your teeth, and immediately you feel the abrasiveness scraping across enamel. There's no smooth glide like modern toothpaste. Each stroke is a scratch, a grind, a deliberate polishing. You taste everything at once. A sharp, metallic bitterness from the charcoal, a dusty mineral tang from the chalk, a mild sweetness if the maker added sugar or peppermint oil. Some powders used pulverized seashells, others used brick dust or baking soda. Some households even mixed their own, crushing the ingredients on kitchen tables. And yet, inside the Victorian context, this was innovation. Before industrial dentistry, tooth powder was a salvation. It removed stains from tea and tobacco. It scrubbed away build-up. It offered the promise of a clean mouth in an era without professional cleaning tools. Today, your toothpaste is engineered to foam, soothe, protect enamel, and taste pleasant. You'd recoil from something gritty enough to scrape your teeth raw. But Victorians embraced that sensation. They believed that cleanliness was something you felt. They wanted the friction. They trusted the scrape. So let me ask you directly, could you imagine starting every morning with a mouthful of gritty powder grinding across your teeth? Bedpans. Picture waking in the middle of a freezing Victorian night. Rooms unheated, corridors dark, floors cold enough to sting your bare feet. Indoor plumbing is rare. Bathrooms are outdoors or far from bedrooms. If you're sick, elderly, or simply unwilling to risk a nighttime trip, you reach beneath the bed and pull out a cold porcelain or metal pan. You feel its weight first. Light, but rigid. The porcelain versions have a smooth glaze, cool to the touch. The metal ones have a faint metallic odor. You shift in bed, position the pan carefully beneath you, and you hear the faint clink of it touching the floorboards. Everything is silent except the wind outside and the distant creak of settling wood. The act isn't glamorous. It isn't meant to be, but it was everyday life. Afterward, the contents are carried to the outdoor privy or emptied into the designated disposal area. Some households used lye solutions to reduce odor. Others simply rinsed and dried the pans, sliding them back beneath the bed until next time. In context, this was normal. There was no shame attached to it. Convenience wasn't enjoyed, it was improvised. Indoor features we take for granted today, flush toilets, warm bathrooms, soft lighting, did not exist for most Victorians. Hygiene was a series of decisions made at the crossroads of practicality and discomfort. Compare that to now. Modern bathrooms are private sanctuaries, heated floors, bright bulbs, scented soaps. You walk into one and expect comfort. You expect cleanliness. You expect distance from your waste. But imagine having no such distance. Imagine your nighttime routine depending on a simple pan under your bed. Could you adjust to that level of immediacy? Tallow candles. You unhook a candle from a bundle hanging in your Victorian kitchen. It's not made of clean beeswax or modern paraffin. It's made of tallow, animal fat, rendered down until it hardens into a pale, wax-like substance. When you touch it, it feels slightly greasy, even when solid. There's a faint scent of meat, something both familiar and unsettling. You bring a flame to the wick. The candle sputters at first with tiny pops caused by impurities. Then it burns steadily, but the smell changes the entire atmosphere of the room. It's smoky, oily, slightly sour. The longer it burns, the more intense the scent becomes. You notice how the heat softens the candle, causing it to bend if the room is warm enough. Victorians relied on these candles because they were cheap. Beeswax was too expensive for most households. Gas lighting was still developing. Electricity was unimaginable in many areas. When the sun disappeared, tallow candles controlled how much life you had left in your day. The frugality mattered. Families rationed candles. They burned them sparingly. Sometimes, just one lit candle served an entire room. Imagine how your eyes would adjust to the dimness, how shadows would stretch across walls, how time itself seemed slower because darkness forced you to move differently. Today, candles are luxuries, scented, decorative, soothing. You buy them for ambiance. You enjoy them, but you don't need them. If your lights went out, you'd expect your phone flashlight to guide you. Victorians expected nothing. They lit tallow because it was their only option. So imagine this. Could you live your evenings by the smoky glow of a candle, smelling faintly of cooked fat? Chamber pots. You wake up in your Victorian bedroom, the fire long gone cold, dawn still resting behind the fogged windows. You don't want to go outside to the outhouse, so you retrieve your chamber pot, sitting discreetly beneath a small table or tucked just under the bed frame. The pot is porcelain or metal, with a rounded lip, a curved interior, and often a painted floral design, a decorative disguise for its utilitarian purpose. You lift it and it feels cold, heavier than you expect. If it's porcelain, it has a smooth, almost silky glaze. If it's metal, it has a faint metallic ring when set down. Using it is simple, necessary, unremarkable. You finish, replace the lid if yours has one, and leave the pot in a discreet spot. In the morning, a household servant, or you, if you didn't employ help, empties it into a designated waste area or midden pit before scrubbing it with water, vinegar, or lye. It was woven into daily routines. Entire households had chamber pots. Children, adults, guests, even wealthy Victorians with indoor plumbing in parts of their homes still relied on chamber pots to avoid dark hallways and cold floors at night. But this wasn't just about convenience, it was about survival. Cold drafts caused illness, outdoor privies were distant, winter nights stretched long and dangerous. The chamber pot helped you stay warm, safe, and still. Today, the thought feels jarring, too intimate, too exposed. You're used to privacy, sanitation, plumbing that whisks everything out of sight and smell. Your bathrooms are spaces engineered for dignity and comfort. But Victorians didn't have that privilege. Their dignity came from routine, from normalization, from acceptance. So I'll ask you, could you let your everyday life revolve around a pot beneath your bed? Asbestos ironing pads. You lay out your clothes in a Victorian washroom. Everything is freshly wrung from a hand-cranked wringer, slightly damp and ready for pressing. But your iron isn't electric. It's a solid hunk of metal heated directly on a stove or in the fireplace. It grows dangerously hot, and the only way to keep it from scorching your fabrics is by placing a small asbestos pad beneath it. You pick up the pad. It feels soft, fibrous, almost like thick felt. You don't know it's dangerous, because to Victorians, asbestos is a miracle material, fire-resistant, heat-absorbing, durable. You place it under the iron, and you can smell its dusty mineral scent mixing with the steamy aroma rising from the damp fabric. Ironing becomes a rhythm. Lift iron, press, slide, return to heat source. The iron hisses softly as steam escapes the cloth. The pad absorbs excessive heat, protecting delicate garments from burning or scorching. You repeat this for hours because laundry is a full-day task, not a 40-minute machine cycle. You feel the weight of the iron, heavy enough to flatten thick linens. You feel the heat radiating up the handle. You adjust your grip constantly. Your wrist aches, your hand sweats. The room grows humid from steam and warm from the stove. In context, this practice wasn't just common, it was efficient. Asbestos pads made ironing safer, faster, more consistent. People trusted them completely. Today, the very idea of holding asbestos in your hands is terrifying. You know its dangers, you know it lingers in lungs, invisible and deadly. You avoid it at all costs. Modern ironing happens on lightweight boards, with steam irons engineered to protect fabrics automatically. Victorians didn't have those safeguards. They had their hands, their instincts, and their asbestos pads. So imagine pressing every shirt, every sheet, every garment by hand, with a heavy block of iron and a pad made from a substance now banned worldwide. Could you manage that responsibility? Could you trust it as they did? Washboards. You place your hands on the edge of a wooden tub, and inside it sits the true backbone of Victorian laundry day, a washboard. At first glance, it looks simple, a wooden frame, a ridged metal or glass center. But when you run your fingers across the grooves, you feel the rigid promise of hard work. Each ridge is slightly sharp, slightly uneven, designed to scrape dirt out of fabric through friction and soap. Imagine you're washing your clothes with this tool, the way Victorians did. You soak a shirt in warm water mixed with lye soap. The soap has an alkaline smell, something pungent and earthy that stings your nose slightly. You grip the shirt, heavy with water, and slap it against the board. You press and drag it up the grooves, listening to the rough rasp of wet cotton scraping against metal. Your knuckles ache almost immediately. Your fingers prune. The cold or lukewarm water numbs you slowly. But you keep pushing, because this is the only way clothes get clean. The washboard is both a tool and a test of endurance, of patience, of persistence. Victorian women often spent entire days doing laundry. It wasn't an afternoon chore. It was a cycle: soaking, scrubbing, wringing, rinsing, repeating. When you scrubbed, you felt every ridge through the fabric, and sometimes the fabric tore under the pressure. But dirt didn't come out easily, and stains didn't surrender without a fight. Think about your modern washing machine. You tap buttons, you close a door, you walk away. You expect your clothes to be spinning within seconds. But here, in the Victorian world, nothing is automatic. Everything is deliberate. Every stain demands personal attention. The washboard demands your entire body: arms, shoulders, back. It demands time. It demands patience you didn't realize you possessed. You'd lean over the board until your lower back barked in protest, then straighten up only to return moments later. And yet, here lies the nostalgia. The washboard gave people a strange measure of control. You knew how clean your clothes were by the sound of the scrubbing and the feel of the fabric. You didn't rely on a machine's hidden cycles. You relied on your own senses. When you were done, you felt pride, not because the job was enjoyable, but because it was conquered. You could point to every garment on the line and know that your own hands coaxed it back to life. Could you go back to that? Could you imagine washing your entire wardrobe one scrape at a time? Cinder-filled irons. You lift what looks like a heavy metal box with a handle. It's an iron, but not the smooth electric one, you know. This one opens like a small oven. Inside its cavity, you shovel hot cinders, glowing fragments of burned coal or wood. From the fireplace, the smell is immediate, smoky, warm, slightly metallic. When you close the lid, heat radiates through the metal plate. Now picture using it. You pick it up, and the weight forces your wrist downward. Victorian irons often weighed between 5 to 10 pounds. Heat escapes through the sides, warming your hands even through a cloth-wrapped handle. You place the iron on damp cloth, and it hisses sharply, flattening creases by sheer force. But the cinders inside do something else. They shift. They settle differently with each movement. Sometimes they flare hotter. Sometimes they cool too quickly. You must listen for the sound of the iron. A quiet hiss means just enough heat. A loud crackle means too much. A silent pass means it has cooled and needs replenishing. In context, this was ingenious. People didn't have electricity. Fire was their energy source. So the iron became a portable stove, heated from within. It gave them the power to press clothes even far from the hearth. It gave them flexibility and efficiency when fuel was available, but time was short. But it wasn't safe. Sparks occasionally escaped. Handles grew dangerously hot. Some irons even had to be fanned or shaken to maintain consistent heat. And if the cinders weren't fully extinguished afterward, they could ignite fabrics or scorch wood tables. Compare that to now. Your steam iron heats evenly, alerts you with a light, and turns off automatically when left on its side. Safety is assumed. Consistency is built into the device itself. For Victorians, consistency came from skill. They controlled heat, not by temperature dials, but by instinct, by knowing the feel of the handle, the sound of the steam, the smell of hot fabric. So let me ask, could you trust your laundry day to a metal box filled with burning coals? Flannel chest binders. You run your hands over a strip of thick flannel, soft yet firm. Victorians used chest binders for warmth, posture, and modesty. The fabric is dense, warm when pressed to the skin, and slightly scratchy from the wool fibers. When wrapped around the torso, it traps heat, pressing firmly but gently against the ribs. Imagine fastening it around your chest. There are no elastic bands, just cloth and ties. The binder compresses your body slightly, encouraging you to sit up straighter. It hugs your ribs, creating a cocoon of warmth that feels comforting on cold days but suffocating during laborious tasks. For Victorian women, these binders were essential. Homes were drafty, winter seeped through walls. Flannel chest binders helped prevent chills, respiratory illnesses, and the dreaded Victorian fear, Catching a cold, people believed warmth was protection, and the binder provided that insulation directly against the lungs. You would wear it underneath your corset or undergarments, and because you'd wear it every day, it became part of your identity, something that shaped the way you breathed, moved, and carried yourself. Today, something pressed tightly around your chest would feel restricting, even alarming. Clothing is designed for comfort, breathability, stretch. You would never imagine wearing something that alters your posture or breathing unless medically required. But Victorian logic prized restraint, both moral and physical. They believed the body needed guidance, structure, support. A loosely moving torso seemed undisciplined, unsafe. Think of how your modern wardrobe feels compared to this. Soft fabrics, ergonomic designs, climate-controlled comfort. Then imagine stepping into a world where warmth came from layers, where health came from insulation, where modesty came from coverage. Could you live with a fabric wrapped tightly around your body from morning till night? Smelling salts. You twist open a tiny vial and the scent hits you instantly. Sharp, piercing, electrifying. Your eyes widen. Your lungs react before your brain does. Victorian smelling salts, made from ammonium carbonate, release a powerful odor meant to jolt the senses, not please them. You feel it in the back of your throat first, a cold sting, then a sudden, almost icy rush through your nose. It forces a breath you didn't intend to take. It wakes nerves. It snaps your focus into place as if pulling you out of a fog. Some were mixed with herbs, lavender, clove, or spirits to soften the blow, but the core effect was always the same: revival. Victorians relied on smelling salts constantly. Fainting spells were common due to tight corsets, poor ventilation, and the sheer shock of emotional or physical exhaustion. These salts restored consciousness quickly. The small vials lived inside handbags, waistcoats, and apothecary cabinets. Imagine being in a crowded Victorian church or ballroom where air grows thick and heavy, and fainting becomes a shared risk. Smelling salts became the emergency button, a quick reset for the overwhelmed body. Doctors used them, housewives used them, even athletes and workers used them to stay alert. But today, smelling salts feel almost shocking. The idea of willingly inhaling something so strong seems extreme. Modern life gives you caffeine, hydration, ergonomic chairs, air conditioning. You revive yourself with convenience, not chemical jolts. Yet smelling salts were the Victorian version of wake up now. Their reviving power felt miraculous. They represented a direct way to reclaim control when your body failed you. So let me ask, if you felt yourself slipping, would you dare to inhale something strong enough to snap your consciousness back with a single breath? Boot hooks. You hold a metal tool, slightly curved, with a hook on the end. It's cool to the touch, made of polished steel or brass. This is a boot hook, an everyday Victorian tool used to pull on tightly laced boots that fit like second skin. You slip the hook into the tiny eyelets and pull, feeling the tension snap the leather snugly around your ankles. Victorian boots weren't casual. They were structured, narrow, and precise. No zippers, no elastic, no soft sneakers, just firm leather that needed coaxing to get on. Without a boot hook, your fingers weren't enough. The eyelets were too small, the laces were too stiff. Imagine using one every day. You sit on a wooden stool, lace ends dangling, and you tug the hook through each eyelet. You pull hard. Your hands work in a rhythm. Hook, pull, tighten, repeat. You feel the leather warming under your hands as it conforms slowly to your foot. The sound is distinctive, a mix of stretching leather, clinking metal, and the faint squeak of tension. Boots were expected to last years, so the leather was thick, requiring break-in time and effort. In context, boot hooks were symbols of refinement. Proper footwear mattered, presentation mattered. Leaving the house with loose or improperly fitted boots was unthinkable. The tighter the boot, the more elegant the silhouette. Victorian fashion demanded discipline from your feet upward. Today, your shoes slip on in seconds. Elastic, zippers, soft soles, flexible materials, all designed for comfort first, aesthetics second. Your footwear works with your foot, not against it. But in the Victorian world, beauty and structure required tools. And the boot hook was the quiet companion in every bedroom, every dressing room, every hallway. So imagine bending down each morning, dedicating a few deliberate minutes to pulling your boots on with a hook. Could you adopt that ritual, one that blends patience, discipline, and care? Before we end this nostalgic journey, let me ask you something personal. After stepping through these 20 everyday objects, do you feel closer to the Victorians than you expected? Also, did you enjoy this trip into forgotten routines? If so, make sure to click on the card showing on the screen.